Hi there, and welcome to our workshop today, AI for Teaching and Learning, featuring Google Gemini. My name is Cami Cannikins, and I'm coming to you from Alberta, Canada, where I work as an instructional technology coach in a district. And I'm also a Google trainer and like to do lots of things with Google. So I love to play with Gemini. So a big thanks to Google for education and their 2023 Education Plus services offer as part of this school year. And I'm also coming to you from Logix Academy, and I'm an extended team member there. And so together with Google, we're happy to provide this opportunity for you. If you require proof of completion, there's a link here. You can jot this down now, or it will come to you at the end of the session as well. bit.ly/logix-pd-proof, all lowercase. And if you complete this workshop, you'll receive a certificate of completion for this PD session, where you will dive into practicing and learning about Gemini. So let us get going on some Google Gemini tools and the lay of the land with Gemini. So I'm not sure if you've used Gemini before. It's end of April that I'm doing this. It's been in Canada, available in Canada less than 2 months, or no, just over 2 months actually. And so Google Gemini used to be called Google Bard, and now it's Google Gemini. So it's brand new to Canada. We're going to look at some of its features and some of the things that we can do. And if you've used other AI tools, ChatGPT, for example, you might be familiar with lots of these steps, but we will go through lots of things in Google as well. And we will use some prompts that will help you to create some items that could be very useful for you as a teacher. We're going to look at image generation in Google Gemini, which is something that ChatGPT can't do. We'll look at rubrics and assignments and some other things as well. Okay, so the very first thing that you might need to do is create an account at Gemini. So you're going to go to gemini.google.com or just Google Gemini, and it'll take you there. And what you have to know is, as you create that account, there's actually lots of different windows that you'll go through, but it gives you quite a choice of what you are giving it permission to do. Now, let's talk actually a little bit about accounts at this time. In the future, and the Google education folks say it's not going to be long now. So in the future, probably the next couple of months, Google is going to be finally releasing its Google Education specific tool. And that is one that is built specifically for use inside of school domains. And there'll be a price tag on it, but it will be one that does not use your data or the data inside of your Google Drive or your Google Forms or Gmail or anything like that to train its Gemini program. So that's coming, and it will be like a premium Gemini, and that's going to be a real great thing when it comes. It's not here yet. So in my school district, we do not have Gemini turned on. Your Google admin will have to do that. Even if they do turn Google Gemini on, it is only available to anyone above 18. So students in a school account at this point would not be able to use Google Gemini at all. So you might be like me today, and you might need to use Gemini in a personal account. I'm using Gemini in my Gmail. And so that is just something you might want to know. You might just want to start in Gmail. As you're going through all of those screens, you might ask it to delete your activity if you want to keep it a little bit more private. And remember, anything that you put into Google could be seen by a trainer or someone that's inside of Google making quality testing and those types of things. So a general rule for AI is don't put any sensitive information in there. So I'm going to leave it at that, and you'll get a chance in a moment to create an account as part of our first activity if you need an account. We are going to be navigating lots of the features that are a little bit more specific to Gemini. drafts, modifying your response options, some of the things that you can export it to. It has a really neat check Google results feature, and we will look at some of those things. And there are so many ways that we can use Gemini as teachers. It's a huge time saver, especially if we know what we're doing and are able to create good prompts. We're going to work on that today. It's great for differentiating and creating differentiated materials. It's a great brainstorm partner. That's probably where I use it the most. We can create creative content like poems and song lyrics. And of course, someone I heard it called recently, it's like the humanities calculator. So it's done. Gemini and these generative AIs have done for the writing world what the calculator did for the math world decades ago. So we can use it to customize interests for our students, partner review feedback, so many things. We'll use some of those ideas in our prompts today. So to get started, we need you to have an account. I'm going to just pop into Gemini and let's take a little look at what that will look like. So let's head on over to Gemini here. And so I've logged into Gemini. You can see that I have the free account. If you look up in my top right-hand corner, it says upgrade to Gemini Advanced. I think right now it's in the $25 to $30 Canadian if you wanted to pay for that, and that's per month. So it welcomes me personally. How can I help you today? It gives me a whole bunch of different ideas. I actually don't use those very often. I usually start by going to the prompt at the bottom. And here's this warning. Your conversations are processed by human reviewers to improve technologies in Gemini. Don't enter anything you wouldn't want used. And so it always is going to give us that reminder. Keep that in mind. Now, one thing I am going to do today is I'm going to go down to settings and I'm going to go to dark theme because I find that when we're looking at somebody else's screen in these AI tools, that dark maybe works a little bit better. So I'm going to come down to the prompt box. It's always located at the bottom. And I'm just going to start with a really simple prompt. And after you create your account, you can do the same. So I'm just going to type in, I've got it copied to save us a little time, a really simple prompt. And let's start with some social studies. Provide a summary of the physical and human geography of the Canadian Shield region. And so that's as simple as I'm going to do. So I just type that in. And then you'll notice here, I could also voice type it with the microphone. I'm going to press submit and we will see Gemini do its magic. So there it is. It starts with the physical geography. It then gives us its human geography and it's given us in bullet points. Now, often a characteristic of many of these AI tools is they use headings, they use bullet points. This one even uses sub-bullet points, which I haven't seen very often in other tools. And so that is just a simple prompt. And one thing that we're going to look at on this first activity is down at the bottom, the little slider icon is modify responses. So we could make this longer. I'll click that. Or shorter, more professional. So you can see my paragraphs there, or the each bullet point is longer. And the whole item itself is quite a bit longer. More professional, more casual, simpler, shorter, longer. I didn't even have to change the prompt that I put into the box. I just pressed one of those. That is a Gemini feature. So now we are going to give you a chance to do some work. You're going to pause right here. So you can just press pause on the video. And if you haven't created a Gemini account, you can go through all the different windows that it will take you to do that. And then try a really simple prompt. I would suggest just asking it for a summary of something. You can use the prompt that I had, maybe you put in a different region, and then go ahead and play around with that automatic modifier, the little slider. Give that a couple tweaks, see how that changes your response. Take some time and then come back and we will go on to the next step. All right. I hope you had some fun with your first prompts in Gemini. And our next activity is going to be really looking at how to prompt, because in any of our AI tools, that's a really important part. The better our prompt, the better our results. You know that old saying, garbage in, garbage out? Well, that really applies to AI. You might see lots of different AI acronyms or AI prompt acronyms out there. It seems like lots of different people have done a graphic, a beautiful graphic with some different activities, but or acronym items. But basically, a good prompt will include these different parts. You want to give the AI a role. So, what's your position? You're a teacher. You're a second grade teacher. You teach 12-year-olds, or sometimes the location matters. Are you in United States, or are you in Canada? You can make that up, right? You tell the AI what it is acting as. All right, so that's the role. Then you want to describe the task. What do you want AI to do? And the more detail that you can give there, the better. You'll see in the example prompts that we use today. Part of the task can be details. Give it some content and some context. What level, what grade number, how many? Are there limits? Do you want it to stay within certain parameters? If you have an example, as such as, or here's some ideas, you can give it ideas, and that will help it know the direction that you want to go with it. And then finally, it's really helpful if you give it a format. You might say in a casual style or a professional style. You might say, I want my results in a table. You might say, I want a 2-paragraph. You could try a 50-word or a 750-word item. My experience is at this point, AI in general, including Gemini, does not do great work with specific word lengths. So sometimes you might just have to get it to run and then say, okay, make that 4 paragraphs instead of 6, or I only want it 2 paragraphs. Or sometimes with the length, you have to play around with that, but it will get there eventually. So give it a role, tell it what it is or what you are doing, give it a task, as much detail as you can, and then format. Okay, so here's an example that we're going to start with. So we're going to take our Canadian Shield information, and we're going to go a little bit farther. We're going to ask Gemini to generate some information for a slideshow. And so you can see the top one. It has used some brackets to tell us where we need to put our specific information in. So you are a blank. And if you look down below in bold, you are a 5th grade teacher. Create the text for a slide deck about, and then I've said the physical human geography features of the Canadian Shield, the prompt that we just did. And then for the level, 5th grade social studies, including speaker notes. There should be 7 slides of text formatted with a header, and then a set of bullet points for each slide. The first slide should include text on the lesson objectives. The last slide should include text for formative assessment and a student activity. That's what we're asking for. Sometimes it gets it all, sometimes it misses part, but basically we're going to start with that and we're going to go from there. So I'm just going to get that prompt. And then we're going to head over to Gemini. Here we are. And so here's the neat thing about using Gemini is that it will continue to remember the rest of our conversation. So it knows that I just asked it for information about the Canadian Shield. So that certainly won't hurt this prompt. I'm just going to paste it in here. And then let's hit go. Now, we're asking it to create text for a slide deck. There are other tools out there that will actually create slide decks for you. I haven't fallen in love with any of them. And typically what I find is that more and more often you need to just give it bullet point information in any slide deck tool, specific slide deck AI tool that you want to use. So asking it to start off with bullet points like this is super helpful. Now, here we go. So here's this first slide. It's got a cover. I didn't ask for a picture, but it gave me one. And if I say change image, it's actually going to generate images. So um, let's just leave it. That does look fairly Canadian Shieldish. And I've never actually had it generate a picture for me for the on the cover slide, and so I was curious if it was going to the internet. But this has actually generated a picture for me for that cover slide. We'll leave that one. Leave that one. Here's the speaker notes. Okay, nice. Where is the Canadian Shield? Now, in this particular case, change image, it did not do a good job of giving me a Canadian Shield. The horseshoe image that we're so often, let's see, generate more. Oh, it's just changed the color. So in this particular case, it didn't do a great job. So I know that I wouldn't want to use that one. I'd want to find a different image, but that's okay. Where is it? It does tell me some bullet shapes. It's around the Hudson Bay. It's U-shaped, all the things that we would expect, 8 provinces and territories. That's pretty good for grade 5. There's speaker notes here. And then we ask for human and physical geography. So here's some of the physical geography, the rocks, glaciers moving over, nice, land of 1,000 lakes. And then some of the physical geography again is the mining, and it tells us mining. It's done a nice job here. Living on the Shield, it tells us why population is low. It mentions First Nations populations. And I did ask it for 7 slides. Oh, there it says slide 7. And it just gave up. It didn't give me a slide 7 as a closer. So what was my final slide? Oops. I asked it to include formative assessment and a student activity, and it did not do that. Okay, so we'll do that on another activity. Anyways, you'll notice here that it says show drafts. And so I'm going to go to draft number 3. And so if we scroll through here, you'll notice it's a different picture, still the same bad map picture. I do not like that as good with the rocks, similar lake. I actually like the mining picture better. So this is interesting. And again, it didn't get our 7th slide. So another feature of Google Gemini is this drafts feature. And so I really like that because I can go through, I'm going to go back to draft 1. I like that one better. We can go through, and without having to reprompt everything, I can go to those drafts, and then I can take different parts of them as I want. So that is helpful. So I would love it if for our next activity that you give that a go. Oh, actually, before we do that, let's go back to Gemini. I do remember that I want to show you one more feature. So we did the show drafts, and let's come down to the bottom here. And this is a really specific Gemini feature. You'll notice the Google G that looks like the colors of Google search. If you click on that, this is a neat feature in Gemini. It's going to basically go through and do a little bit of Googling its own resources. And so if I click on this little understand the results here, if it's a green highlight, it means that it's found content on Google search. So Google search that we know and love, it's checked the results against there. And the green items say, yeah, it's likely that this matches lots of different things. If it's orange, this brownie orange color, it means that it didn't match information that was found in Google search. And so that the predictive model in AI maybe didn't do a great job there. So if we just scroll back up to my results, I've got lots of green. This one is interesting. You'll see that it's orange. And if I can click on this to expand, Google search didn't find relevant content. Consider researching further. Now, when I look at this, it's simile. These minerals are like tiny building blocks to make many things we use every day, from our bikes to computers we use at school. I can see what AI is doing there. It's giving me speaker notes. And so it's trying to give me a descriptive way of telling my grade 5 students about mining. And so I understand that that would be orange. This one, again, these lakes are all connected like a giant water maze. AI has just generated that. It's not necessarily a way that the internet has searched it or has described it. So there's some things that are totally searchable. This one says the rock is made of granite and has a slightly mottled appearance. I would say that's okay. Oh, this is actually the description of the picture, which isn't showing up right now. Okay, so anyways, that is that nifty little double check response button. And so now we're going to come back, and our next activity, we are going to create a presentation, a text for a presentation slideshow. And so ask it, we'll just review real quick, give it a role, a task, and a format. Ask for a slide deck, give it the number of slides, how many do you want, and what do you want each slide to have, and then use that little Google to check your results. And if you get multiple drafts, you can check those too. Pause the video, come back, and we'll try something else. All right. I hope you have a nice text for your slide deck. I wonder, did yours include images as well? The next thing that we're going to do is actually looking at how to generate images. And just let me check one thing real quick here. Oh, I'm going to just change that. All right, here we go. I'm just going to get my prompt that I want to use here. So we're going to do the same thing again with images. We're going to be that same 5th grade teacher. I'm going to ask for 4 images. So then I want to be specific for my presentation about physical and human geography. So it just made that presentation. So that will certainly not hurt our results. Although again, it would probably give us similar results whether we had just done that or not. Again, that 5th grade class, images should be a realistic illustration style. So in this particular case, I could ask for a photo. I'm going to try realistic illustration and see what happens there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to look at some of the image options that we have as well when we generate image. All right, back to Gemini. And so you'll notice that as this is all my same lesson, I'm just going to keep scrolling down. I'm going to hit paste my prompt in, and let's hit the go button. So when you ask it straight up for images, well, that's interesting. When you ask it straight up for images, it I've never gotten one like that before. When you ask it straight up for images, it usually just gives you 4 images. This time it told me it can't generate images, but it can. So maybe it was really trying to think back to that presentation that we made, because it's actually trying to make one. Welcome to the Canadian Shield. It's actually using my, here, let's try this new chat and let's see what happens. Because in this case, my prompt is overlapping with what it did before. So here, this is a brand new prompt, images for a presentation that it hasn't already created. These are somewhat better. All right. This one's not bad. This one is really corny because it has a fish in it. Oh, that's funny. And some flowers that maybe don't quite fit. This is an interesting mining picture. That's maybe not bad. And this one is its attempt at a First Nations settlement, which I have to say, generally AI does not get First Nations content and especially image generation very well. Let's take a look at this one. And I'm going to ask it to generate. You know what? I'm going to come down to the bottom. I'm going to say, I like the first one, but can you add some more rocks? Well, a few more rocks. We could keep trying, but these aren't terrible. So let's look at some options down here. One of the things that I can do is I can click on the three little dots at the bottom, and I can click copy. When I click copy, it will take my whole anything in this prompt, and it will copy all of those. So if I went into a Google Doc right now, it would paste all of those into a Google Doc. Now, another option for images is, let's say I like this one best. I can actually download. And so I just click on the download button and it will download. And it'll go to wherever I have my downloads. And so those are some ways that you can save images. I can also, I'm not sure if our recording is picking this up, but I could also just right click, copy image, and paste that somewhere as well. So that's a really neat feature that Gemini has that some of the others don't, is that we can generate images. So let's give that a try. You can try to create some images for the slide deck that you just made, especially if your slide deck didn't already make images for you. And you can go ahead and give that a try and press pause. When you're done, come on back and we'll do our final activity. All right. Our last activity is going to be to generate an assessment, a student assessment, and a rubric. And that's good news because when we asked the presentation at the end, or when we created the presentation, the slide deck, it actually didn't give me the activity that I had asked for. So I'm glad that we have that all queued up to do right now. And so I'm going to be an expert curriculum writer and teacher. We're going to ask for a clear set of detailed student-facing directions. So that's really specific, and I want it to give language that's for a student, not for a teacher. And I'm also asking for a rubric for my fifth grade social studies class, studying regions of Canada. This is what would be if I was doing a whole unit on the regions of Canada, not specific to Canadian Shield this time. And the product that the kids are going to do is to create a 2-minute promotional video for that region. And I want a rubric generated as a 5-point scale. So I'm going to pop over to Gemini and we're going to do that. All right, so let's give that prompt a try. Here we go. And you'll see that it is in student language. Welcome explorers. It gives me an overview. My mission is a 2-minute promotional video. All right. So it tells me what my video should include. This particular one does not give me a whole lot of information. Um, Plan your storyboard. Here's my rubric. Okay, so it's giving me a 5-point rubric. 5, 3, 1. It actually, sometimes it gives all the points in between. And then you'll notice down here that I can export it to sheets. So let's say that I want to give more information to students about how to choose a region and do the research. So I can modify. And it's added to the, instead of redoing it all, it's just added to it. And so I could, again, just copy those into another doc, put it all together, or I could actually ask it to redo the whole thing as well. What we see here, though, is that it's not perfect. And I actually can't believe I haven't told you this before, but it's really important that you use the 80-20 rule. We can let AI, Google Gemini, help us with 80% of the work, but we should not take any of these and copy them and paste them into a student assignment, into a letter to parents, into report card comments. We always need to read it through, and we really need to do our own editing. Let it be a brainstorm partner, let it be a helper, but we need to go back and edit and make sure that it is absolutely right, because we will look foolish if we prompt and paste. Here's what I like to say: prompting and pasting is pathetic. It applies to students, it applies to us as teachers too. So make sure that you do that. Okay, so here is your turn. Create an assignment. I did a 2-minute video assignment. You can create something else. Remember to give it the grade, the level, all of those things. Ask for a rubric. Tell it how many points you want. If you want to tell it the categories as well, you can do that. And then try modifying, try reprompting to get something a little closer to what you want. Pause the video, come back, and then we'll do a quick wrap up. All right. Well, I sure hope that you have a few ideas of some of the things that you can do as a teacher to generate work for your students. There's so many other things that Gemini is useful for that will help you save time as a teacher. I wanted to make sure that you knew what was behind some of those little buttons and gears. Gemini has a lot of features that some of those other chat tools like ChatGPT don't have. And if you have heard of other tools like Magic School or EduAid, we can do all of that in Gemini with good prompts. We don't need all those fancy little buckets. So this was free Gemini that we used today. Here is a great resource if you want to learn more. Grow with Google has AI for educators. This has only been out for 2 or 3 weeks. It is about a 2-hour course, and it really helps you learn how to prompt in more detail than we did today. It's 100% self-paced. It takes about 2 hours. It's a really great course. Now, if you want to use our time together today as proof so that you can get your certificate of completion, here's the address again: bit.ly/logics-pd-proof. If you fill that out, you'll get that certificate. And if you have any feedback, you can send it here. And if you need to ask any questions, events@logicsacademy.com is how you can get a hold of us at Logix. We would love to thank you for joining us today as you learned about AI and Google Gemini.